All right. Um, so I'm back with more Gary Yourofsky videos here. Thought it was done. So I was thinking of more things to say about Gary Yourofsky, more things that I remembered from his channel on YouTube. Um, so I was about to make some notes about um, the things that I remembered, and then so I went on my laptop to the word processor, and a window came up and said how because the laptop turned off unexpectedly, it had saved the notes I had made previously. So it would have been fine if I had realized that. I could have just gone back. I wouldn't have had to remember what I thought was gone forever for when the battery died on because I didn't have it plugged in. So I didn't actually lose anything. It's still on there. So then I could see on my notes, when I went over my notes again, I could see there were a few things that I forgot. So I have those on here, and I put them in bold so I can see what I missed on my notes, and then I also put in bold the new things that I remember about Gary Yourofsky that I wanted to say. Okay, so not going to unplug the laptop this time. Going to leave it plugged in so I don't lose my notes, even temporarily. Okay, more about Gary Yourofsky here. Um, okay, so next to my speciesism note here, I have how Gary Yourofsky comments on the idea that humans are born to love animals and taught to hate them. And he gives an example that I've heard uh, given by Earthling Ed. So I'm thinking, did he get that from? Did Earthling Ed get this example from Gary Yourofsky, or did Gary Yourofsky get this from somewhere else? I'm not sure, because I thought it was a Gary Yourofsky original. So that this idea of uh, he says you have a child or a baby um, who hasn't been exposed to the conditioning of speciesism um, yet. So you have this child, and you give them you put next to the child an apple or and also a bunny rabbit, a live bunny rabbit. So Gary Yourofsky says um, that naturally the his basic idea is uh, naturally the child is going to play with the bunny rabbit, the live bunny rabbit, and will eat the apple. And he says, "Tell me if the reverse happens. Tell me if the child, the baby, will eat the bunny rabbit and play with the apple. Tell me if that ever happens." So that goes back to the idea of um, are we natural meat eaters? If we were a natural meat eater, wouldn't the child uh, eat the live bunny rabbit if we were like a natural meat eater and play with the apple? And Gary Yourofsky, he says that humans wouldn't hate other humans. He suggests there wouldn't be so much discrimination um, if we were taught at a young age to treat all animals with compassion as they should be treated. Because why would we see other people as different in a negative way if we're going to treat non-human animals kindly with compassion? Because we're taught to treat our pets, dogs and cats, with kindness and compassion, but we're taught to hate cows and chickens and pigs and turkeys because we're eating them. So why would we have compassion for animals that we're eating? So that goes along with the speciesism, treating some animals with kindness and other animals just as objects, commodifying those animals, the animals involved in the animal agriculture industry. Their lives don't matter because they're not pets, they're not companions. So there's these companion animals that we're going to be nice to, but there's these other animals. Oh, well, we don't care about these other animals. Put a knife in their throat, cut them up. All they're good for is food. So that's Gary's basic um, idea of that. And the thing about like if we were really natural meat eaters, we wouldn't need to cook our food. I've seen this point made elsewhere. I think uh, possibly both Earthling Ed and Freely have made this point. Like if we were really natural meat eaters, we'd be eating. We would like um, we would like being around the guts and the eyeball and the brains and all the everything. We would eat all of it if we were a natural meat eater. We would enjoy the smell and the taste of the raw uh, guts and all that because that's what natural meat eaters do. They enjoy all that. But because we are disgusted by that, we need to uh, cut it all up and we need to cook it. That's not really natural. That's not really a natural meat eater. And the thing with uh, the footage and the images of animals being slaughtered, um, most people are affected by that. Most people they don't want to see that because it's not natural for us to be eating that way. That's why people have to disconnect from it. They don't even want to. They don't even want to think about it. There was another thing that I forgot about the. There was another a video that Gary Yourofsky has with the Sasha farm and the animal sanctuary with the turkeys. It's funny. He's um, he's talking to the turkeys. He goes he's kneeling down with a crowd of turkeys, and they're quiet. They aren't saying anything. The turkeys are quiet, and Gary's talking, and then he says, I can speak to the turkeys. I know their language." And he goes gobble 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 gobble. And when he does the gobble gobble gobble, the the crowd of turkeys gobble 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 right back to him. So it's like he's talking. Gary's talking with the turkeys with his gobble gobble gobble. So that was kind of funny. He did it a few times. He talked and then he gobble gobbled and then they gobble gobbled back. So that's kind of cute. Um, I talked about the when Gary Yourofsky was dealing with the in the interview where he was dealing with the school administrator, which I think was in Israel, uh, where they were opposing Gary speaking at the school. He was not allowed because they felt like he was spreading lies and he was too graphic. Uh, they when like they didn't like how he was saying things, and they didn't like that the administrator didn't like that he was uh, that Gary shows the graphic footage of what happens with animal cruelty, animal slaughter. Um, so oh, she says if students wanted to see that, uh, they can just go online themselves and see the footage on their own. So that was her position, and Gary Yourofsky just says, "Why are we lying to the kids about what actually happens to animals?" Earthling Ed makes that point too. Like we're grown up when we're growing up, we're not shown the reality of what actually happens with animals. So if we did know the reality, how many kids would actually be continuing to eat animal products? I would think a lot of people would be traumatized by the reality of it. And there is the silly argument that people bring up. Like Earthling Ed has uh, encountered this because he's done his street interviews and people just say such silly things. These meat eaters, this silly argument that they give about plants feel pain. So because their reasoning is because plants feel pain, um, then they should be allowed to they should have the right to eat animals because it's the same thing. They're equating um, plucking vegetables out of the ground with slicing an animal's throat. They're saying, "Oh, that's the same thing. Plants feel pain. Same thing." I have oh yeah. Okay, so there's something else I didn't have in here, but I'm thinking of right now. So there's a point that Gary makes, and there's also it's this a similar point that Earthling Ed makes, like um, that if you want to have that perspective, like especially Earthling Ed makes this point. Um, if you really feel like eating plants is just as bad, that we need to take that into account. Uh, more plants are murdered because of animal agriculture, because the plants are being fed to the animals. So if you don't have the animal agriculture, less plants are being killed. So Earthling Ed says you should be vegan anyway if you're gonna take that position that, well, plants feel pain too.